What's going on, guys? It's Vlox. Today I wanted to continue the dungeon guide series that I started for Dragonflight Season 4. So a couple of weeks ago I made a dungeon guide for Dragonflight Season 4 for Shadow Priest, where I kind of went through each of the dungeons and kind of explained some things you should look out for, as well as some stuff you can use your utility for. But I didn't really go over a lot of the bosses in depth. So what I want to do is just make a video for each dungeon where I go through each boss and kind of explain how you should play the fight, things you should be looking out for, when to press your defensives, when to use your damage, or how to effectively use your damage to deal with some mechanics. So today we're going to start out with Algeth'ar Academy, and I'm just going to go through each boss on this run and kind of explain what I'm doing. I apologize for the video quality. I had to pull this off of one of my previous streams. And as always, guys, if you are enjoying the video, please let me know in the comments. Also, please like the video and subscribe for more videos in the future. So to start out here with this boss, he doesn't really do anything until he spawns the ads. That's about like, I think 20 to 30 seconds in. So at that point, you just kind of do your single target rotation and hit the boss. Important thing to know is that you should try to stack as a group, like on one singular point, and then kind of walk together like in a semicircle around the boss. This is so you can not only like clump the ads in a nice tight space so you can DPS them pretty efficiently. You also don't want to drop circles everywhere that might kill everyone. So generally that's going to be like the strat you see people doing is just you stack up and then kind of like run together around the boss. As far as DPS cooldowns go, I try to hold my DPS cooldowns for the when the ads spawn. And it's mainly because of the ancient branch that the tree spawns. Like shortly after he does the germinate. So I want to have my CDs rolling into the ancient branch because that ad needs to die as soon as possible so that everyone can cleanse their bleed. Another important thing to know is that you want to save Shadow Crash for each one of these ad sets. Basically, just when it spawns, you send Shadow Crash. Do not waste your time trying to dot all of these. You're going to waste too many globals and spend too much time dotting things that are probably going to die anyway. Just kind of accept that you're target capped on this fight and let your other teammates deal with it. If you have like a Destro Lock, he's just going to pretty much be rain of firing and everything will die. Or if you have a Fire Mage, he's going to be spreading his Ignite off the boss, and all of these are pretty much going to die anyway. So don't try to waste your time dotting everything. It's really, really inefficient. Um, and then as far as the ancient branch goes, so what you want to be doing for when this ancient branch spawns is pooling your insanity. Just because, like I said, the branch needs to die as soon as possible. So you want to pull some damage so that way when the branch spawns, you can spam a couple DPs and just burn it down, burst it down really fast. So right here we see the branch spawns. I am dwarf, so I do racial the bleed off. That was something I mentioned in the earlier dungeon guide. But you see here, as soon as the branch comes out, I'm dotting it with Vampiric Touch, and then I'm just pumping some DPs into it, and it should die pretty fast. I have all my CDs rolling. Your CDs are generally gonna roll over into the next set, the next ad set. So you see here we're stacking back up for Germinate, and then we're gonna kind of just roll together. Kind of stutter step to the left and right. So this is like the big ability that you want to use defensives for. You want to use like some combination of Fade, Flash Shield, Desperate Prayer, or Dispersion. Here I hit Fade and Desperate Prayer, and that's usually going to be enough. I also have a Power Word Shield on me, so I know I'm pretty much more or less safe. And then at this point, my Shadow Crash is not back up yet, so I'm not going to waste time. Like I said, I'm not going to waste time trying to dot everything. I'm just going to keep hitting the boss. And then when my Shadow Crash comes back, I'm just going to send it and start cleaving. But this whole time I'm literally just focusing on single targeting the boss. Also, another important thing to know, when these lashers spawn, you kind of want to wait, like, if you have crash available, you want to wait like at least a second or two, like a couple GCDs, because if you send crash instantly, you do run the risk of just ripping aggro, and you're probably gonna just instantly die. You want to give the tank like a second or two just to get aggro, and then at that point, the fight is literally just rinse and repeat. You do the germinate, the ads come out, the branch comes out, we get the second germinate, he does the big AoE that you want to press the defensives for, and then you kill ads. Alright, so for the bird boss, there isn't really much to highlight other than like correct defensive usage. This is pretty much just a single target fight. You just single target the bird down, dodge these swirlies on the floor. Your group's probably going to coordinate to throw the balls at a certain amount of stacks. If you don't know what the stacks are, it's like these stacks right here. What these stacks do is it makes you take increased damage from the deafening screech for every stack you get. So the more times you cast this, the more damage you're going to take on the successive cast. Throwing the balls into one of the highlighted areas through the goal, it's going to reset your stacks. So you might see your group coordinate to do like up to 3 or 4 stacks. Normally it's most common to do 4 stacks first and then another 3 stacks and then you clear again. At that point you just kind of have to race the boss down to 0 before you get too many stacks and he kills everyone. So the way you kind of want to live these stacks is you have Fade, Flash Shield, Powered Shield, Dispersion, and Desperate Prayer. So usually what works for me, I've seen, is at 1 stack, you don't really need to press anything. I kind of just press Fade to help out. At 2 stacks, you kind of want to use a Fade and maybe Flash Shield or Powered Shield. You can see here on a 16 for that 2 stack, I think I just had Fade up. I think I shielded maybe too late. So like up to 2 stacks, you can probably be okay with just Fade or Flash Shield. On the 3rd stack, generally what I do is I will Fade, Flash Shield, and Desperate Prayer because the damage starts ramping up a little bit. And I'm pretty sure you need that to survive, especially going into hierarchies. You need to use like at least Fade, Flash Shield, and Desperate Prayer, maybe even Powered Shield on top of that. So you saw here, I have this weak aura that shows me the boss ability timer. So you can see like at about 5 seconds, 5 or 6 seconds, I casted a Flash Shield and a Powered Shield. That's just because I know I need to start prepping. Since you have to spend a couple globals to use all your defensives, I kind of start prepping by pressing Flash Shield. As soon as Fade comes up, I'm going to press it. And then I'm also probably going to press Desperate Prayer. So you saw there, Flash Shield, Fade. I used Desperate Prayer right there, and I'm good for the 3rd stack. And then the 4th stack is just really easy. You just have to press Disperse, and then you just pretty much live. I'll show you guys the 4th stack right here. So you see I have 3 stacks. We're going to do number 4 right here. I just press Disperse, and boom, I take no damage. And then pretty much from there, it's rinse and repeat. The next time, so when you clear these stacks and you go back to 0, you're going to use the same sequence of defensives. You can use like Fade for 1, Fade and Shield for 2, and then for 3 you want to use Fade, Flash Shield, and Desperate Prayer for 3. And then at that point you should just probably resetting, and then you just rinse and repeat every time you have the stacks going back up again. The bird boss is definitely going to be one of those fights though where you want to come onto this website just to make sure you can live like X amount of stacks on any different key level. And remember, this is going to be different based on everyone's stats. So the stuff I'm kind of explaining in this video might work for me, but might not work for you if you don't have the same stats as me. So always make sure you come over here and double check. And then the other thing I forgot to mention for this fight is there is a damage amp phase once you throw the balls into the fire goal, the bird will take an increased amount of damage for a short period of time. And so you can kind of play around this in a couple of ways with your cooldowns. So generally on this fight, if I have CDs up on pull, I'm pretty much just going to send them because it's not worth waiting like about like a minute. I think that's when it comes out, like about 45 seconds to a minute in. It's not worth holding CDs for 45 seconds to a minute. You're going to lose a use throughout the fight by just holding on to your CDs. So generally, if you have your CDs on pull, just send them. The only times I'm going to hold CDs on this fight is either we're lusting soon, like in this situation here. I notice we have lust in like 30 seconds. I don't know if we talked about it in the chat. I don't remember. But for this key specifically, I did hold my cooldowns until we lusted. And remember, your cooldowns do last a little bit of time, so if you use them like shortly before the your group clears for the fire buff and you throw it out, and you have your cooldowns rolling into the fire buff, you're still getting the damage amp. Like you don't necessarily have to pop them immediately when the damage amp is going out. So your cooldowns do roll into that. The only time that's one of the only times I'll hold CDs is if I have lust coming up. Or if my CDs are coming up like around like when we have 3 or 4 stacks, I'll pretty much just hold at that point to send for the damage amp phase. But you're gonna see here my CDs are up and I'm just holding them until we lust. We decide not to lust until I think like around 3 or 4. Yeah, we lust right here. This was like right after the 3rd stack. So as soon as he pressed lust, I'm just gonna press my CDs. No point in holding after that. And then we're going to see here the damage amp goes out, and I still have a little bit of duration on void form. Yeah, and on this fight we went into the damage amp at a minute 38. So if you were holding since pull, you'd be holding for minute 38. Definitely not worth. If you have CDs on pull, just send them. Like it's not worth holding. But I popped CDs at a minute, and I had my void form rolling all the way into this point at a minute 43. Um, so yeah, don't be afraid to just send your stuff. Holding is very bad most of the time. All right, so for Vexamus, there's 3 main mechanics you need to be looking out for as a DPS, which are the balls that spawn, the mana bomb, and then the big arcane fissure, which is the big AoE. So for the mana bomb, what you generally want to do is if you get this on you, you want to use Fade and Flash Shield. This will give you 20% DR throughout the duration of this ability. What this ability does is it's a dot that just slowly ticks on you, and then when it expires, it does like a big explosion. So if you use Fade and Flash, you have 20% DR, which is going to help your healer keep you topped. If you get too low while this expires, you're just going to get one shot, so you want to stay as topped as possible. You can also help top yourself off with Desperate Prayer, just to increase your HP pool and heal you a little bit. Or you can spam Flash Heals a little bit or Health Pot. If you notice your healer is letting you drop a little bit too low. As a last resort, you can use Dispersion if you notice this is about to expire and you're just really low. But generally, you want to save Dispersion for the overlap if there is one. If there's an overlap, which is when the Arcane Fissure happens with the mana bombs, you want to have Dispersion for that. Otherwise, it's just gonna be like really hard for you to survive that. So here we see I have Fade and Flash up, the dot's ticking, and then it's gonna do like a big explosion at the end. So with these balls here, you just want to help the group soak them up. You can take generally like 1 to 2 stacks, but I wouldn't really go any higher than that, especially on higher Tyran keys. A big thing about the balls is that you do not want to soak them while you have the mana bomb, because that's just going to make it more likely for you to die. You're going to take some extra damage while that dot's ticking. The dot is pretty nasty. So you want to just wait until that expires and then go grab an orb. You have a lot of time to get the orbs. The orbs travel slowly all the way to the boss. So don't feel like you have to be like in any rush or anything. That was the big AoE. For that, you want to just make sure you have like Fade or Flash Heal up, and then make sure you dodge the swirlies after that goes out. So we see here the bombs went out again. I'm free to go soak an orb. I'm always watching my debuff here. You can MD this debuff off um, with Mass Dispel. If you are a dwarf, you can racial it off like I did right there. But yeah, it's just pretty much a single target fight, and then you have like these other mechanics going on. The most important thing you want to be on the lookout for is the overlap with the Fissure and the mana bombs, and just make sure you have something ready to press for if that happens. Alright, so for the last boss, there's also not really much to say as far as like using your damage properly. It's pretty much just a single target fight. You just use your CDs on cooldown, try to kill the boss as fast as possible. The big mechanic with this boss is the orbs, the little pools that shoot out orbs. So you want to pretty much just the whole time just dodge orbs. You also want to be aware of your stacks. Every time you take a hit from any mechanic, you gain a stack of this debuff. At 4 stacks, you're going to leave a pool like this on the floor behind you. So ideally, what you want to do is like strategically position yourself so that if you ever do spawn a pool, it's going to be like more towards the outside of the room. And ideally, your tank should be tanking the boss in like an area that's pretty clean. So like this would be good positioning, for example. Like if we're moving over this way, I want to stay more towards this side of the room. That way, if I drop something, it's behind us, not towards where we're going. That's pretty much just the biggest thing on this fight is positioning and watching your stacks. And then the only other thing is like when you get the mechanic, like this bomb right here. So periodically she's going to put a bomb on different people. If you ever get this bomb, you want to make sure you are pressing a defensive because when it expires, it does do a decent chunk of damage. So again, you just want to press something like Fade and Flash Heal, or Fade and Desperate Prayer, or you can just disperse it. You don't really need to save Disperse for anything super dangerous on this fight. So just pretty much use a defensive whenever you get the bomb, and you should be okay. Another reason you want to do that is because she can like combo different casts. So occasionally she does like a missile cast where she'll just randomly tag someone with a missile, which is like a little chunk of damage. I actually think it was right there. She did it to me. So you're gonna see right now like a random missile comes out. I'll do it in slow motion. Right there. There was like a missile that came to me. So sometimes what will happen is she'll do the bomb, she'll put the bomb on you, but also that missile will hit you and it can kind of like combo you. So when you do get the bomb, you want to make sure you're pressing defensives and try to stay topped, especially like right after the bomb goes off so that you don't get comboed. Um, that's mostly like something your healer should be helping you with. You don't have to like stand there and spam flash shield. Just make sure you are pressing defensives so that your health doesn't go super low and your healer can top you off pretty fast. So yeah, let me know if you guys like this style of video and if you want me to start doing the other dungeons. I'm hoping this will just help with boss fights in general because I know dungeons, during dungeons, boss fights can be like challenging and I feel like not a lot of people know like when to properly use defensives um, or like things to like when to use their cooldowns and stuff. So let me know and I will go through the rest of the dungeons and kind of go over all the fights. But yeah, thanks for watching guys. I will catch you guys in the next video or on one of my streams.